So right now, I think there's only one question we should be asking ourselves, and that is, can anything stop Bitcoin? And I think you know the answer to that question. I want to follow up on yesterday's video on that short-term target, which we talked about midstream yesterday, saying, look, based on the result of this hammer that was shortly after yesterday's close, we should at least revisit the top side of the range coming in at 119,609. We did get that move. And I'm actually looking for a little bit more on that move, extension up to 128.93. That's 120,893. And I would say let's judge it with a fine-tooth comb when we come up to that region, whatever that means. That is also going to be our golden pocket, Fibonacci 618, 786 banger zone, where, potentially you could be looking for a little, short opportunity. But I think that's the last thing on everybody's mind. And that might be the very reason why you'd want to be asking yourself, could anything stop Bitcoin right now from having this parabolic melt-up rally that we've all been waiting for, all year long, specifically in the altcoins? And I do think that there's pretty much nothing stopping Bitcoin from hitting this longer term target. Again, using our beautiful Fibonacci tool, if we go using candle bodies from wick to wick, 124,873, I do believe that's going to be the next major level before we get any kind of selling resistance. You can see, Bitcoin is flagging out here, hopefully not going into another one of these boring ranges. What else do we have here on the 5-day time frame? Volatility is just getting expansion above 15%. Momentum's to the upside. And those 5-day volatility plays, when volatility starts to expand, you can get a 30% move. I think that's the average statistic. So again, what we're looking at here is when volatility is expanding after coming from a low level, after a period of consolidation, we're going to look at the stochastic to get us the bias or directional bias. So the 5-day stochastic RSI is currently pointed up and to the right. And then what is the average move from expansion? So where do we define expansion? Mr. Crown there, I think he did some back testing saying it's only good if we're above 15%, and that the average move, first standard deviation is around 30%, and on the higher side, upwards of 45%. So let's say, to the benefit of our doubt here, that we get 30% from here. That would take us up to 154,000. If we get a little bit more, and he said, by the way, the average move, it's going to happen over the next 30 days. So that would take us well into August, I would say. So what does that look like here from a timing perspective? So let's say expansion happens here. We get 30%, 5-day closures. That's 25 days. That would take us into August 14th. Let's say August 19th. So if we don't pull back and get rejected and start consolidating again off of this high at 125,000, which here's why I kind of like actually continuation and more upside as well, is the daily volatility now has reset and is completely, compressed on the floor here, and momentum is just crossing back up on this stochastic. I do want to check in on my old setup here, and that is this guy right here, which does have daily, momentum crossed up as long as we're above 120,413. So today, it looks like we're going to have to make this move, whether we like it or not. Could we call this bearish divergence? Absolutely. And again, what is that? Price is making a higher high. This is pretty hard to call because based on the wicks, it's a lower high. Based on the candle body, it's a higher high, right? This body is higher than this body. However, the wick is much higher. So I'm going to say that this is still the local high and a higher high. And that does not put in the case for that bearish divergence right there. So that's a point for the bulls there. What I don't like, though, is the stochastic is kind of snaking around here at this 67 read. That's not exactly where you want to see, the upside moves take place from. Give or take your bias. Let's see if you do a fib. Yeah, look at that. Right in the 3-2. I typically do not use the Fibonacci tool on the stochastic, but it's always fun to take a look here. And yeah, so again, I think we should mark off that level to say that we called it when we called it. Now, what else was I saying about the daily volatility play? So expansion off the daily volatility play, you can get a 20% move pretty easy. So where would a 20% move, and what's probably most likely to happen here, honestly, if you ask me, is we probably come take out these highs and consolidate some more, and that would be the perfect rhyme and reason and season for these altcoins to continue to just have some massive gains. So we'll take a look at some altcoins and what their projected upside potentials could be, because I mean, we've got everything in their mother saying crypto is going to go to the moon. So why not? Why not just let it go to the moon, guys? Total market cap is absolutely looking bullish here, looking bullish, about to make new all-time highs. The ETH, and again, I wanted to remind ourselves of what is happening with the ETH Bitcoin chart. For the very first time in a very, very long time, we have a complete trend reversal, higher highs and higher lows. We talked about that last week. That kind of being the beginning of alt season. We've got Bitcoin dominance taking a big leg down, and we do want to see it continue to shaft through this region. We don't want to see a big bounce here, but that's okay as long as we don't retake out these highs, and Bitcoin dominance coming down is completely what we want to see if you're an altcoin enthusiast. And Ethereum has been on the receiving beneficiary end of obviously the ETH Bitcoin kind of flipping there. And you can see today, Ethereum did close a bit of a hammer candle, kind of first sign of weakness here. And, definitely don't want to see any closures back below 35.90. Otherwise, you may get that last buying opportunity. And where would those buy the dip opportunities come in? Probably somewhere around, 2,800 to, any of these fib levels. Honestly, in a bullish market, you can get picked up right here. The first major fair value gap, and just curious, what kind of downside move would that be? That's 14%, 20%, and 30%. So, anywhere along those areas could certainly, help out. Could certainly, be a buying opportunity if we did see any kind of a pullback to the 382 fib at 31.91. Honestly, I don't, and this is just my opinion, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but in my opinion, I don't see Ethereum going much further, below this green box here. We'll call it the box of peace and prosperity and death and despair. So that is between your, that's a pretty wide range. I really don't like that box, actually. So I'm going to take it level by level. If we did get a ping down to 31.96, I would consider that probably a very good bouncing point. I think institutions will be stepping in like nobody's mother here. Tom Lee, those guys buying, all this Ethereum, putting it in their little fund, pumping the price, very, very good. And I do think it would get bought back up as, Ethereum still has not made a new all-time high since 2021. So it's got a lot of work to do, and definitely some resistance coming in around that 4,100 level. And what I do like about this kind of current breakout and current move for a little more continuation is that We have now, taken out the 236, or what would be on the opposite side, the 786 fib, right? You're looking at a retracement up to the 100, right? So $4,000 for Ethereum. That definitely seems to be in the cards. And the last thing I'll touch on here is, the great old saying is, if you can't beat Bitcoin, you might as well be in Bitcoin. But if you can, great. So you have to ask yourself this question: what altcoins would potentially outperform Bitcoin, and where do the tops usually get put in? Well, on Ethereum, the 4236 fib, which is your parabolic blow off top target, gives you, the upside of an additional 230%, versus Bitcoin. If we hit the all-time high target, you'd be looking at, around 220,000. Actually, I think we can go a little deeper here. That's on the shorter term. So you want to go from the macro high to the macro low, and you can see that all-time high target, depending on if you use the wicks or the candle bodies, right? But that's coming in somewhere, the 4236 at 242, somewhere in that zone. That's where you expect those parabolic blow-off tops to happen. So the max upside on Bitcoin from here, in my opinion, for this season, again, not financial advice, would be somewhere around 104% from where we're at today. Ethereum giving us a little bit more upside potential, which would be from the macro high to the low. Again, the most upside potential I see Ethereum doing for this cycle would be up around 13,000, call it 14,000, which is roughly 300% higher than we're at today. Let's see. 370% higher than we are at today. On the other side of the fence, we've got, and what I'm going to do is go through the majors, right? When I'm talking about the majors, we're talking about the coins that have now been listed as part of the America's Strategic Reserve assets, not only gold, silver, no, gold, oil, land, right? You got Bitcoin, ETH, XRP. Wow. Those are the top three. BNB, Solana, USDC, but Cardano. So Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, and Solana. How did Solana buy its way into this area? Number 6. So we went over ETH, and that, I'm just going to write these things down. 300, and make sure you guys put a vote in the comments below. Looking at these parabolic blow-off top targets, which one do you think is going to go up the most? And I was watching good old, what is his name? Alex Becker, and he was talking about the theory of relativity and basically how these things work. And I happen to agree with him. It's called the chocolate fondue fountain. Everything goes to Bitcoin first. People make some money, and then they go, okay, how am I going to make a little bit more money? And they look at the other majors. So you got the top, 10 right here going down to Tron, and that includes all these babies are going to get some more love, and their market caps are going to continue to go higher. You can see Bitcoin's market cap's at 2.3 trillion, Ethereum at 450 billion, XRP at 208 billion, and Tether, the stable coin, right? BNB at 111 billion, Solana 109 billion, USDC, another stable coin, Dogecoin 40 billion, Cardano coming in at 31 billion, and Tron 29 billion. So I'm just going to give you a little teaser here. Two to take a look at. AI is BitTorrenter. Tau coin is the number one AI token. Its market cap is at 4 billion. Again, do your own research. Just, considering that NVIDIA had the biggest run in the market, might want to consider that one. Aptos, which is a competitor to Sui, which Sui is coming in at 13 billion, 14 billion. Sui coming in at 13 billion with a B. And oh no, we don't like you, Sui. Siri, get out of here. Anyways, Sui and Aptos, those are kind of paired together there. 37.16. Am I going to get smoked on that trade? Let's take a look at Ethereum right now. And a lot of times after a big day like this, right, where everything rallied to the moon, very, very likely, I think I might be on the receiving end of a big red shish kebab candle. That does not look fun. Yep, that looks like a falling star, shooting star, the Star of David falling down from the sky. No, I'm just kidding. I believe that's, you could call it a hammer or a shooting star where the star, needless to say, that is a bearish candle formation. And I just want to look at where we could potentially get picked up on the first pass, the 382 fib. We could definitely get a bounce there. We could definitely get a bounce there and save me from a bit of a red candle here. But that's okay. I am seriously looking at this as short-term bouncy. This is an inverted head and shoulders. We got the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. And as long as we don't take out this shoulder, I am expecting this target to get hit. And it is pretty unique how these things just take some time to play out. They don't play out every single time, and they don't play out perfectly, but they tend to play out over time. And gosh, I was just saying it here the other day. I was just saying it here how, look, a lot of times what happens is you get a little bit of funny business going on, What happens? We're coming into that 382 fib. And I have to judge it right now and decide, are we going to break through it? Or are we going to bounce off that 382, coming in at 317? Coming into the silver cross, the 200 EMA. Is that going to be the bounce zone? Is that the area that's going to hold us up and take us back to Valhalla? Valhalla. Is that even a word, guys? Is that even a place? Apparently it is. If you come from the land of cryptocurrency, Valhalla is a place where all the Bitcoins just come raining out of the sky and they hit you in the head and you are in Bitcoin heaven. You can go there. Wow. 316. Another little cheat code here is the liquidation heat map, and that is going to tell us if we can get a little bounce off of this area. It looks like we're coming down to 316. We just broke the 382 fib. So the next area of interest is going to be the 0.5, and all this liquidity sitting here at 310. 310 is the number. 310 is the number. And can we get a short-term bounce? We are not even at the liquidity yet. Let's see it on the 12 hours. So this is a really cool little cheat sheet. And, price likes to go to where the liquidity is. That is the highlighted areas. This is where the 100x longs or shorts are getting liquidated. And you can see 37 million and 11 million. So fairly low, low liquidations there, if you ask me. And you can see this mere $52 million worth of liquidations resulted in this last downside plug or move or short-term move to the downside. And today is Wednesday, so Tuesday was yesterday, turnaround Tuesday. Solana, I think I'd love to take a short position on Solana right now. And see if I could get a little buy in here or a little short in on Solana. It might be too late. Here is the 15-minute hammer or support level. Yeah, there it is. Perfect pullback to support on ETH. We made it right to our green 55, and we'll see on the next 9-minute candle if we can get the momentum to cross back to the upside above 37.58. 37.58, but back to this head and shoulders formation, and the breakout level has been hit. And that does give us a measure move back to 37.93. 37.93, again, looking at this as the head and shoulders. As long as you don't take out the right shoulder, well, you should be perfectly situated for a nice little upside move there. A nice little upside move. And that's, you know, if you took it from the breakout, right, we're talking about 2.3%, a whopping 2.3%. On the daily time frame, I also wanted to show you another little secret here, but a lot of times when you get these big hammers or wicks, right, a big wick like this, price action likes to come and fill 50% of the wick. And usually you can get a reaction right there at the 50% level. And basically, you know, if you start closing, for example, hourlies below that 50% retracement, then likely, well, you're going to come all the way down, back down to doggy town, all the way back down to this level at 358. However, on the other side of the fence, right, if you just tap it, and, you know, this works for pretty much all the wicks out there, right? For example, this wick right here, the 50% level was tagged. You got a short-term pullback. And as soon as we started closing hourly closures back above the 50% here, well, it was onwards and upwards from there. So again, if you are looking for a short-term pullback on Ethereum, the buy the dip levels are there, and I just wanted to give you one last thing here is if this inverted head and shoulders, right, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, if it gets invalidated by closing below this prior low coming in at 36.50, then what you'd be looking to do is you get the opposite measure move, the opposite of that inverted head and shoulders, and you're talking about something like this. So all the way down to 35.90, 35.90, and let's just see if that lines up with anything. Nope, not particularly. From a retracement point of view, actually, this is what I was hinting at here. Just giving a little hint here. Where does the short-term target pull back to? Again, yeah, it's coming in probably right around the 236 fib. So, you know, do we get a continuation push here? You know, the stochastic is in the critical zone here. We'll cross back up above 37.71. So again, we'll be following these coins through the rest of the bull market, and we want to see again what's going to outperform Bitcoin. If you can't outperform Bitcoin, well, you might as well be in Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, that's why we're here, right? We're here to make money, not to get married to the asset. And we do have, the ETH Bitcoin chart absolutely showing us some love here, showing us that, Ethereum is going to start to outperform Bitcoin. Actually, we said on the breakout, on the daily time frame, when we were way back here, and we saw, this was the actual trend reversal. That was the first higher low, higher high. That was it right there. But true conservative confirmation, because after this downtrend for so long, since 2021, Ethereum was downtrending against Bitcoin. We finally confirmed the reversal by making this higher high, right? So we took out the highs here, and that was it. And we said, look, okay, from that pivot, ETH will outperform Bitcoin by 30%. We got that move, 30%. So if you look at Ethereum's price from here to here, right, that's over the last 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, call it 7 days. Over the last week, Ethereum should have outperformed Bitcoin 30% more. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin over the last 7 days, right? What did Bitcoin do over the last 7 days? We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, honestly, it went down. From this candle right here, let's count exactly 7 days to be fair. That's 8 days. And I actually think that's not counting today, so 7 days. So Bitcoin actually went down from the all-time high. Well, to be fair, we closed here today. So down, wow. Down 2%. While Ethereum, over the last 7 days, what happened? Over the last 7 days, yeah, we'll say it happened on this candle right here. Up 20%. So I would say that is significantly more upside that has happened in Ethereum over the last 7 days. And, the big question you got to ask yourself is, is that trend going to continue? Let the trend be your friend till the end of the trend. I think that should answer your question for now. And I am so excited that that's going to be happening, that should be really the highlight of our times right now is, taking advantage of this knowledge of information. If you do enjoy it, make sure you smash the like button and join us on BloFin right now. You can get 10% cash back on deposits up to $2,000. And best deal in town. Best trading for fees. Highly recommend them. And again, don't do it if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't taken our course, Crypt Courses. There's a link in the description below there as well. I hope you will check it out and join us there. Anyways, I'm going to follow up really quick because I know this is dragging on a little bit here on the weekly time frame. What's the potential for Solana if it hits its parabolic blow off top target? That's coming in at 1,028. 1,028, up 377% from where we're at today. Call it 400%. So ETH, 376, Solana, 400%. That is 4x on your money. And you can see this is a very nice W formation. That would at least get us back to 265. The all-time high price. You can see we topped out at 265. Not once, not twice. Actually, two other times we topped out at 265. If we can get back above there, we'll be in a blue sky breakout. Things will be looking very, very nice for Solana. And at a minimum, that's where I'm looking for things to head up right now. So as Solana gets back to the high, that's 23%. It's not, when I say right now, I'm not talking about like today. Right now, I'm talking about over the next, let's call it 30 days as Bitcoin climbs up. 30 days, it'd be very nice for Solana to continue to make a 30% move over 30 days. Let's see what the banter bubble says. The other thing I want to bring up is XRP here. And we've already got that target out. And look at that, XRP making new all-time highs for the year. So beating the pack. Something to note is that XRP absolutely is standing out right now, making new all-time highs. Something that Solana hasn't done, Cardano hasn't done it. The only other, coin off the top of my head that has done it is going to be Bitcoin, and that's a sign of strength. That is a sign of strength. Now the fact, what was that, a humpback whale? Did you hear that? What happened there? I believe it was a humpback whale. All right, Solana, XRP. For those XRP bulls, now, is that that is the low from the macro high to low. This is not the oldest chart. This is going back to 2022. Actually, I want to take a different look on XRP and pull up a little bit more of a chart. Gosh, I do want to see what this looks like. Spot price action, because XRP's been along. It's been out for a very, very long time. A very, very long time. The oldest price chart on XRP is not going to be this. Look at that. What happened there? KuCoin printed all the way back down to -2, not 2 cents. Let's see on Coinbase. Now remember, XRP got delisted off a lot of exchanges. So look, Coinbase spot price, it reactivated back in 2023, July 2023. So you're going to have to look at something probably like BitMEXC. Bitfinex. XRP was delisted. And even this chart only goes back to 2018. Okay, there we go. That is interesting. So XRP did not make a new all-time high during the 2021 bull run. It did not make a new all-time high. It did not make a new all-time high, but projected target 176 if we're lucky on XRP, and that's not much higher than where we're at today. 279% XRP at most. Again, that's if we hit the parabolic blow off top target. For XRP, I think, think about this. It would bring the market cap 276% higher. So XRP would become almost $1 trillion asset. 200 billion times 3, let's say 300% higher. So that would make it 200 billion times 3. That would be a $600 billion asset, almost $1 trillion asset. Are they going to take over the banking system? Are they taking over SWIFT? Is it all over for the banks? Who knows? I was having a talk with the banker today. She did not even know what XRP was. She's like, I'm going to Google it tonight. That's okay, ma'am. It's okay. One day you will know what it is. Now I feel bad. Really sweet lady. Really nice lady. Very, very nice lady. Taking a look here at MEW. what is Mu? Mu is a meme coin. Now I'll just let you do some math here. This looks like a W formation, which was almost confirmed here with a breakout. If this thing goes up 200% to the all-time high, starts printing 20% candles a day, you know, this is the type of action that this thing has done in the past, by the way. Like Brett, one of the darlings of the market at one point. You got Fart Coin. I mean, these meme coins are absolutely crushing it. It is absolutely hilarious what is happening with the meme coins. Anyways, I'm getting all over the place. We got XRP, we got Solana, we got Ethereum. Let's take a look at Cardano, which, by the way, hidden gem there, you know, hidden gem Cardano. If we actually make new all-time highs this year and we hit that 4236 fib, there is much more upside than all the other coins that were listed as strategic reserve assets. This one with the potential of a 1,276% gain. And, you know, that is a big if. That is if we hit the 4236 fib, which, by the way, Bitcoin's hit the 4236 fib every single time in every bull market in Bitcoin's history. It has never failed to hit that parabolic blow off top target. So we did ETH, Sol, XRP, and Cardano. Cardano or ADA, whatever you want to call it. Cardano is just a joke. It's not really Cardano, it's Cardano. Needless to say, guys, I hope you enjoyed some of the stream, and I wanted to give a little color on, you know, what these strategic assets might be, what their potentials could be if we continue to see a bull market, if we get an alt season. Another great tool, guys, if you want something really good to see. And we're going to do a show this week or sometime soon about all the indicators that kind of tell us the top's in. Things could be reversing, time to get some new coins, or time to take your profits and run for the hills. We will go over those things as well. Members only. No thanks. But Fear and Greed Index is one of them, and we are at a 70. We're not, you know, we are greedy right now, but we're not in extreme greed. You can look at the extremely greedy zone. Whoa, did they make this a paid for thing? Max. Why is it not? Anyways, we'll take a look at that at another time. We looked at all of our coins. All of our time is up for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you do write a question in the post in the below. Let me know what coin you think is going to do the best. Take a look at another one. Actually, I'm going to shout out to Carl here, who wants me to take a look at Mr. Casper, the Friendly Ghost. And if you take a look at CAS BTC right now, we got CAS BTC. So this is Casper priced in Bitcoin. You can do Casper price in Bitcoin, Solana price in Bitcoin, but this is to give you an edge. If it's going to start to outperform Bitcoin, that's what you want to be looking at 100% of the time. 100% of the time, you should be looking at that as a major indicator. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding, but here we go. Casper. Still in a downtrend on the weekly time frame. So that's good if you're bullish. Why? Because that means you can still buy while it's low, because we believe that these things are likely going to break out here soon. You know, if Ethereum's doing what it's doing, it's that theory of relativity, because everybody wants to make money in crypto. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody thinks they're going to get rich And we all just know that that's not always true. That's not always how it works. And even if you saw the most, best tokens there, they are considered strategic reserve assets for America. Even their upside potentials is not that much. And that's why people go further down the risk curve. Okay, this is Casper the Friendly Ghost. Caspa. We got Caspa, which is the real OG right here. We're going to call her the real OG. Casper. Gosh, I am not. Am I? Okay, that's good enough for me. There we go. And here is, first off, what I would say is this. Casper has been fairly deadly when it comes to trapping people in what has been, a really good market, which if you got long over here, I mean, this is when I first started learning about Casper. Why? Because the CAS BTC chart was smoking to the moon. This was the chart when I first started looking at Casper. It was outperforming Bitcoin. Great. As soon as that reversed, you can see, well, you should have been in Bitcoin. And you had to deal with a, massive downtrend, which this is a daily time frame. I mean, to be fair, it's not that big of a downtrend. It hasn't been that long. It hasn't been, underwater for, well, you're still underwater if you bought at the peak. Only a year, 354 days. Okay, that is a long time, right? Trend reversing. We've got the higher high. We've got the higher low. I mean, what a beast. Look, coming in right, I'd say below the 786. That trappy as ever. So the channel has been catching it pretty good. And the way these channels works, if you fall back in the channel after breaking out of it, well, what's the most likely thing to happen? You're going to come back to the median, which Casper could easily do, if you ask me. If these bounces do not have some legs here, easily that is what could happen. On the daily time frame, you still have, well, momentum just crossed down at an 85 read. Bearish, okay? Do we have any divergence? If we confirm this as a local top, yes. How would we confirm this as a local top in my book? Any kind of a daily closure back below yesterday's low at 0.107. Very likely sends, this one back down to fill out this candle at a minimum. And even with that said, a lot of times Casper likes to come back to the 382. If we're bullish, we're going to get picked up right here and, bust on out of this falling channel. That is the hope for Casper right now, if you ask me. You do not want to, I mean, honestly, you don't even want to close back in this falling channel on a 4-hour time frame, which you kind of already did, but we're getting back out of it. So, I mean, really, I would be stop loss right here. Otherwise, this thing's going to come all the way back down to 0.97 cents. And, to put perspective on that, that's 13% lower than we're at today, right now. So Casper could be, Casper could be in for some downside. And what else do you have here on the 4-hour? You've got declining volatility. So what does this tell me on the 4-hour time frame? That unless this can pick back up, when volatility is declining, you're talking about a mean reversion in price. So what does that mean? So while volatility is expanding, going to the upside, if the price is going up, when it's contracting, right? A mean reversion on this price. What does mean? Back to the middle, right? Where's the middle? 10 cents, 10.17. So, you know, my base case right now for this one is a short-term pullback with stops along the way down. As long as we're below this wick. I mean, this looks like a perfect short trade setup. Honestly, perfect short trade setup. If we can come to the middle of this wick, you know, likes to fill the middle, put a stop right above that hammer. And does it look like she wants to go? Mean reversion. I mean, unless the momentum and volume starts to come in and ETH really gets picked up right now, you know, you need to see Bitcoin and ETH maintain momentum for this one to continue onwards and upwards, if you ask me. But this is one of the candles and one of the times where, you know, you could see another 20% candle on this guy just overnight. And what would cause that would be everybody shorting it, putting their stop losses right there. I mean, honestly, that short looks beautiful right now. It looks mighty beautiful right now. I'll have to do a little bit of a deeper dive right now, but it really depends on what Bitcoin does. All right, that is it out of me today, guys. Hope you have a blessed and highly favored rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.